it just got even more crazy.
Yeah, and we need to talk about that, and we need to talk about that in detail. So I need to take a breath. Let's go pay some bills. And when we come back, I want to hear from you. I mean, you know what I think about it, or maybe you don't know what I think about it, but I do want to hear from you about what went down with this Lakers trade. So we'll hit that right after this. All right, Justin, I'm going to lead us into this segment too, because I have my feelings on this big deal that went down in the NBA. And look, I think we thought that this was still going to be a possibility. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. So just to let our listeners know, we're obviously talking about Anthony Davis heading over to the Lakers, and the Lakers keeping Kyle Kuzma, but basically giving away a lot of other things. And I'm not really that upset with losing Alonzo Ball or Brandon Ingram, or even a Josh Hart. It's sort of the picks and what comes on after that seems like a king's ransom. So I got to know a couple of things from you. Number one, do you think this is a fair trade? Do you think that both teams actually get what they want in this deal? And moreover, how do you feel about clutch and the way that this is kind of right on that edge of, well, is it tampering with LeBron James and his involvement with Paul and Clutch, and then how Anthony Davis is involved with them? Does this cross the line, as we've kind of brought up months ago when this was going on? Just react. I just want to know from you, because we texted a little bit about this, but now you're on vacation. You're supposed to be calm. You're supposed to be having fun with your family. So, and also since you're not in the studio and you can't reach across the table and slap me, let me know what you're thinking about all this.
Well, first of all, I hope you have the dump button ready in case I go off the rails here.
We might have to label this one explicit.
When I saw the SI article come out on Rich Paul and the things that he was saying in that article, this was just a foregone conclusion of, it was more of when it was going to happen, not if it was going to happen. The tenor totally changed when he came out and said, yeah, Boston can trade for him and we'll go there for a year. And he kept using we, like Rich Paul's going to play now. Like, what the hell is Rich Paul going to play? Like shooting guard? Like we'll go there and we'll do our contract and we'll do this. And then we'll go into free agency in 2020. But don't blame Rich Paul when you burn up all your assets. When he said that, this totally changed. And David Griffin knew it. And it was time to pull the trigger on the deal, get as much young talent and assets as you could. And that's what he had to do. This was gun to the head. You got to make a decision of what you're doing. And that's what happened. That's what he tried to do earlier this year, which totally backfired on this team, on this franchise. And really, Eric, he put the Lakers in a position where they knew that they were going to get AD. And I think even when you saw right after the NBA Finals that the Lakers at that moment were the favorite next year to win the title, there was a lot of smart people that are a lot more plugged in than you and I, where money's involved, that knew something was going down. And it was just a matter of time. The talking bend will be before the draft, because now that the Lakers somehow jump up and get the number 4 pick in this draft, that jumps their draft stock enough that it really allows this trade to go through. So to me, I really wasn't surprised. I thought it would be maybe a little bit closer to Thursday night's draft, but I really just wasn't surprised with what happened. I was a little bit surprised Kuzma wasn't involved in the deal. But again, when you know that you're going to get a guy if you just waited 1 year, I think Rich Paul was going to tie Anthony Davis up and throw him onto an airplane, like what the A-team would do to Mr. T, like inject him with something. He just wakes up and he's at Staples Center, signing a contract, because it was no, hell or high water, you're coming to the Lakers. And I think, again, we talked about it a lot when this news came out of these franchises, especially smaller market franchises. These guys are signing the max deal. And then with 2 years left, their agent is trying to force their hand. I didn't like it then. And I don't like it now. If you sign a contract, at least man up. You're the best player on the team. What are you talking about? You just saw Kawhi Leonard go to a team that he didn't want to be on. That we talked about their roster that, well, who do they really have? Yeah, they've got Siakam, but he's a developing guy. He wasn't even playing basketball like 5-7 years ago. And he's still learning and growing into the game. And Kawhi figured out a way to make it work. So I love it when these guys who are, well, this might be the best player. This might be the best big man in this generation, but he can't make it work in New Orleans with a pretty good roster. So he has to run off and hide somewhere and go get all this other talent. Eric, that is driving me nuts now because Kawhi just proved that if you are good enough as a star and you just get good role players around you that fit your system, you can have success. You don't need 3 or 4 superstars. You need one guy. And the fact that these guys feel like, well, the organization isn't giving me enough. I have to go somewhere to get with better players. Maybe you need to do more. And I think that was my takeaway after watching what Kawhi did and then seeing Anthony Davis whine and moan and bitch his way to get to LA through Rich Paul. I just immediately started thinking about, you know what? That really tells me all I need to know about really how good Kawhi is, and that I'm actually starting to like this guy more because he went into a situation, he became the star, he became the man, and he won a title. And these other guys complain about it, Eric, and they are as much to blame as their organization for not winning.
Well, I gotta ask one thing though, just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Because the one thing is, last year we were really hard on Kawhi because he was pissing and moaning at the end of his time in San Antonio because, well, we weren't sure were they handling his injury correctly. It came out that a lot of the teammates were frustrated with Kawhi because was he really putting in everything that he could? I mean, there was some speculation that he really wasn't giving his all there. And then he didn't go to Toronto and become what he became. I mean, they shipped him to Toronto, so that wasn't of his own making. But yeah, I mean, after that, I totally agree with you that he made the best of that situation and then gave us everything we needed to know with his play out there on the floor. He didn't talk anything. He showed us with his abilities, and then he was absolutely hands down the MVP. How it wasn't unanimous is beyond me. The MVP of the NBA Finals. I remember saying to you, Kawhi's the MVP whether they win or lose. That's how good he played. But a year ago, if we rewind, I mean, we were pretty hard on Kawhi for kind of doing that same thing in San Antonio that, well, I'm not satisfied. I don't want to be here. I don't like how they're handling my injury. I'm not going to play, and so there was a little bit of that with Kawhi last year.
I'll agree with you. I think the difference for me, if he would have come out last year and said, I'm only going to sign with the Clippers in the next year and a half, so you need to send me there. And his agent was coming out saying, you know what, you can trade for him, but he's gone. I think that would have changed things for me. I didn't hear any of that talk because it was like, Toronto? How the hell did he end up? Because the joke was like, Greg Popovich was so pissed he sent him out of the country. So to me, it felt like he just wanted out of San Antonio and out from under them. He didn't make these contractual saying like, oh, well, I only want to go here. And then you add in that whole clutch element where it's this, you have Rich Paul that's LeBron's boy, and he's making sure that Anthony Davis ends up in LA. And again, when All-Star break came out, Anthony Davis' comment was, I'll go to 29 other teams. I don't care. And then he narrowed his list to like the Knicks and the Clippers and the Lakers. I think Boston was even on there. And Rich Paul does everything he can to sway other teams away from that. So like we were texting back and forth of like, where's Anthony Davis really want to go? Is this Anthony Davis that wants to go to the Lakers, or is Anthony Davis giving Rich Paul a list of, hey, you know what? Here's 3 or 4 situations I think would be best for me. And Rich Paul just keeps forcing the Lakers down. That's the one piece that I don't understand, that I don't like, because we've seen situations in the past where agents have other clients and teams will do them, they'll throw them one or something for the bigger client. But we've never seen a agency this close to a player and then that agent trying to get those players and work deals to other teams in this league, because it wasn't that long ago that David Stern, as the acting owner of the Hornets, blocked deals that would have sent Chris Paul to the Lakers. So I don't understand how we had that. And then we fast forwarded to 7-8 years later, and this is allowed to go on in the league and it's not somehow considered tampering. I just don't understand that, Eric. It's another thing that the league I don't know how they can continue to let this go on.
Well, I'm going to say this, and it's kind of agreeing with you, but just on a slightly different skew a little bit, because I'm with you. I think this is absolutely wrong. As much of a fan of LeBron as I am, I think it's absolutely wrong how close he is to an agency that can drive players to him and to his teams. I just think that's absolutely a conflict of interest. So I don't like that. I think it's a bad precedent for the league. I think it sets up a lot of different things that could happen in the future that really go against fair play and fair market in the league. So I'm 100% with you on that. The only thing I don't for sure know is with how this can all be spun, I don't know in my heart of hearts what Anthony Davis really wanted to do, because yeah, publicly he might have said, I want to go to, I'll go to 29 other teams, or then narrowed it to, well, I'll go to these 4 or 5 teams or whatever. But we don't know. We're making assumptions. We don't know behind the scenes if Anthony Davis told Rich Paul, I only want to go to the Lakers. So although it's, kind of assumed, and it's kind of funny for us to think, well, Rich Paul is dragging him to the Lakers. It very well might be that Anthony Davis wants to go to the Lakers and be a Laker. That might be true, but I think publicly, he has to say, well, I'll do this, or I'll play for the Knicks, or I'll play for, because that way it doesn't seem like tampering. It doesn't seem like, well, I'm driving this bus to LA and I'm going there, be damned. I just don't know. I can't quite believe that Anthony Davis is being dragged in this. I have to believe also that he really does want to be there with LeBron.
I mean, that's totally plausible. I can definitely see that. And maybe it's just my complete disdain for the way that Klutch is allowed to just use this league as its stepping stone. I think this is,
yeah, and I think that's fair. Deal, I think it's fair for you to be mad about that,
because I think what you could start to look at is how could this, all right, LeBron's like, okay, there's a couple guys that I really like. What if we go out and we don't charge them any fees to be their agent for the first couple years or something like that? There's other things that could be at play here that as fans, we really don't even see. But I've just never seen where you had a superstar in the league that has his toes dipped in an agency and that they are bringing players into his franchise and trying to control the league that are still under contract with other teams. It's one thing if this is next year, 2020, Anthony Davis is a free agent and he decides, hey, you know what? I want to go to LA because I want to play with LeBron. And I like Rich Paul and I like Klutch. That's fine, Eric. I have no issue with that. But if you're going to start saying, hey, you know what? So-and-so just signed a 5-year max. You know what? I think we can get him and maybe we can do something here, from a back end side with the books or things like that. And we can bring him into LA with 4 years left on his deal. Those are the things that worry me about just this league when you have small market teams that are already struggling. Who's to say that couldn't happen with Zion? Or who's to say that it couldn't happen with some of these other guys that we see at Bradley Beal, for example, something like that, where these guys that have multiple years left on their deal, it's just like, oh, well, we got to figure out a way to get them to the team that we want, even though they just signed a deal. So that's what bothers me with this whole thing. And there's articles out there that have talked about the fact of Rich Paul being around the Laker facility, and then he's able to be around these other teams because he's got clients there and he's plugged in, and people on the Lakers, even the players, felt like every time he was around, he was trying to work deals to get him traded. And that causes distrust among organizations. So you would think that wouldn't be good, that teams would sort of start to balk at that he'd get kind of that Scott Boras type reputation where teams just didn't want to deal with him. But I think for him, Eric, this was a huge coup for him because this was like a power broker move of like, you know what? All you other players in the league, I'll get you wherever you want to go. You saw what I just did with Anthony Davis, 2 years left on his deal, 1 full year left. We got him where we wanted to be. I think from that standpoint, it was just a power move for him. So when I look at this of who wanted it the most, I think Rich Paul is the guy that really wanted this the most to happen. I think then it's LeBron and then it's Anthony Davis because from my standpoint now, if I'm a player, if I sign a max deal, 1 year goes by and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it here anymore. I don't really like the coach. I don't like the direction. I don't like what we did in the draft. Calls up Klutch, drops his agent. Klutch starts working this from the back end, using the media, pushing these guys out with multiple years left on their deals. I just don't like the direction of that, Eric.
Completely agree. I cannot disagree with that one bit. I do think it's a dangerous